Welcome to Behind the Audition Podcast with your host, Curt Hilton. Listen in on interviews with voiceovers, filmmakers, producers, animators, and much more. Curt, a voice actor himself, will give insider tips to the business, talk with guests about how they got into the business, and be sure to stay tuned to the end of the podcast when he challenges his guests with a pop-up audition. Now it's time for Behind the Audition Podcast. Here's Curt Hilton.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Audition Podcast. Today I got to talk to the legend himself, Marc Graue. You can't say video games without thinking Marc Graue. He has voiced hundreds of characters for video games, been in movies, worked with some of the top celebrities in the business. And today, he'll give you tips how you can up your voiceover game. So sit back, enjoy another episode of Behind the Audition Podcast. All right, welcome to the show, the legend himself, Marc Graue. How are you doing?
What is it? No, I'm doing great, man. I'm out here despite all of our fires and smoke and everything else that's going on in California and politically and otherwise. There's at least not 4 guys on horses yet, no locusts. So we're keeping our fingers crossed.
You know, when I first called you, you answered the phone like that, and I just started laughing. Of course, you knew that, but this is so cool that I get to have you on the show. You're one of my all-time favorite voice actors, and
Thank you, man.
Again, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure, man. Thank you very much for having me.
I guess, to start things off, I just want to know a little bit more about you. How did you and when did you first start getting into the business of voice acting?
Well, I tried to become a male prostitute. No one would hire me. So, no.
Yes.
I was in radio. It's funny. I grew up I was born in Hollywood at Queen of Angels forever ago. And my dad did news at Channel 5 at KTLA here in Hollywood. So I grew up with Daz Butler. In fact, Daz is my godfather. He used to do a puppet show with Stan Freberg called Time for Beanie. This was back when stuff was live. There wasn't even videotape. And, Dinah Shore and Bob Hope and all that stuff. So to me, it was like that's just how you grew up. And people asking for my dad's autograph and stuff. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it wasn't, it's like, well, that's great. But he would still come home and beat my butt if I did something I shouldn't have. It was not like I wasn't deserving of it. So, was raised in that. And then basically I went to college and got a BA in broadcasting, and I got a degree in mass communications and was ready to take the world by storm. Went into radio. I worked up in Redding, California for a while, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Oregon, Washington, San Francisco, San Diego. And it was always that, it's the classic, we just want you to meet with a consultant. And it's like, well, let me get my stuff and put it in the car first, because I know where this is going. So basically I did radio, came back up to LA. I was kind of BS'd my way into a big music studio. And they wanted to start a voiceover division. So I started that, and I was very fortunate to get in bed, so to speak, with like Don Pitts. Don was an iconic agent. At that point, Don had his clientele was, oh goodness, Orson Welles and Casey Kasem and Gary Owens and Mel Blanc. And it was, pretty magnificent. And we became very good friends, and I started doing demos for him and stuff. And then one day somebody had said, hey, they're holding general auditions at Hanna-Barbera. I went, really? Wow. Now this was back, Helen Hunt, her father, Gordon Hunt, was the director there.
Oh,
and
cool.
All of the people that were huge, Andrea Romano and Chris Zimmerman and stuff, were Gordon's assistants at Hanna-Barbera. And so I had done voice, commercials and stuff, obviously for radio, but I'd never auditioned for anything. So I wrote this ridiculous script. I think they thought I was on crack, because it was like, now we'll have to find the great know-it-all stuff. You may call me great, yes? I mean, it was like, what's wrong with you? This poor man has Tourette's. And so, but it went well enough. They went, my goodness, do you have an agent? And I went, no. And they said, well, you get yourself an agent. We'll have you out here working immediately. So I called Don Pitts and said, Don. And he's, Don had that voice that was kind of, and he said, sure, I'll take you on. And goodness, great. I mean, I was there, Bobby Bergen. I think Bob was, oh goodness, probably 16 at the time,
Oh, yeah.
This is, in fact, on the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Highland, where the Dolby Center is now. That's where Don's office was. And that's kind of what started the whole process of the voiceover portion.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Now, you are, the list goes forever, but you've been casted by some of the biggest games in the business. Who are some of your favorite characters you were casted for?
Well, I just put up, it's very funny. I had run across, I think, and somebody had mentioned, I did a game way back in 1987 and called Leisure Suit Larry.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, that was very risque, and really, it's funny. The response has been like, "Oh my god!" It's so, that. So that was a fun character. I did. There's a game that's been following me forever called Hotel Mario,
Okay.
and I did Mario, Luigi, and Bowser's voices in it. It was the first CD-ROM that Philips had done. That was around 92 or 3, something. I don't know. Something.
Wow.
And, but it absolutely was voted, I think, one of the worst, like top 10 worst games ever in the history of video games. But it's taken on this whole different life where people have taken cutscenes and they've done everything from porno scene to heavy metal to rap to, I mean, it's really crazy. And it's like interviews with the BBC, and it's like, really? Okay. It's kind of taken on a whole nother life of itself. So that was fun. But, there's some endearing, Mr. Zircon and Ratchet and Clank is a fun, and cartoon series, Veggie Tales. There was a couple of characters in that, and it really is just in the moment. It's kind of at the time it's like,
Yeah.
this is great, and it's and some you have no idea the impact. It's like, wow, at the time it's like I had no, like even Mr. Zircon. If you ever on the internet just key in Mr. Zircon, it's like, wow, there's all these phrases of him and stuff, and it's like, wow. Or going to BlizzCon, I've done a ton of Warcraft stuff, and oh goodness, I don't know. I need to look at IMDb. I don't know.
It's forever, and that's awesome. That's what I love about all your characters. You could just change just like that, and they're all so good.
Well, knock on wood. I mean, there are guys that are certainly far more talented than I. I just, you kind of do what you do. The running gag is, I will never play the guy next door. I'm the guy that kills the guy next door. So, so it's like, well, why not?
That's so true. I can't sit through a horror movie. I guess I'm the weak one. I can't sit through the horror movie, but I will love to play the evil character voice, and I love to just be like, just create an original scary voice. So I totally know what you mean. Oh
yeah, that's the most fun to do, and you can just chew up the scenery and get him. When we did, it's funny. A great example is, orcs, orcs and trolls. It's like, I don't know when all trolls became Cockney, but I guess Harry Potter. It's like, why couldn't he be from the Bronx or somebody? They won't got that guttural that's in his face, kind of thing. So, when we did the Warcraft movie, the ADR on that was like, I think we were on that for like 4 days, and everybody was like, "Yeah, man, that's great. I'll see you Monday." Because it was just that throat ripping kind of, it was,
Oh
so,
yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. I mean, it's I've been ridiculously lucky and very, very blessed, and I've been doing this for. If somebody was asking me like, "How long have you been doing this?" and it's like, I think now we're at 51 years, something like that. 50
Wow.
years. So it's, and it's I have a lot of changes, but I mean, it's paid for 2 divorces, 3 kids through college, 3 houses. I actually own this one. I don't have to share it with anyone.
There you go.
So yeah, it's good. I mean, I just it's in enjoying the life. It's just enjoy not getting caught up in all the BS and believing, oh my God, well you wait, smell that? It's me. I really have done with it.
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't heard that one. I love that.
Well, it's like, you just have to stop and realize that you're very blessed to be. It's like my buddy Rob Paulson said, because we're all sitting in a room and talking and getting paid a lot of money for it. So, let's not get too serious about this.
And that's so true. For those who are back in school that were like the class clowns, are now, big time voice actors, and actually they paid off to get in trouble in school. So
Sure. Yeah, it's very fun. It's like the kids that, not even kids growing up, that are making money playing games with all the tournaments,
Yeah.
Get out of that room. Why didn't you get you? I've been playing that damn game for weeks, and it's like, I just bought you a house, Dad. Keep playing them. Don't come out.
Oh my gosh. I won't tell my kids that one for sure. Now, one thing I like to do, I like to watch the way you make your characters and how to get into a character. When I got into the business, I learned real quick, it's not just your voice, it's acting. And I think
the
that's
physicality. Sure.
yes,
Sure.
yes.
Absolutely.
And you have some amazing videos out there helping voiceover get in the business. I actually took one of your ideas where you put your hand over your mouth, and I was doing like a growl noise, a monster, and something
Sure.
like that, and moved around. And I actually put that on my demo. So thank you very much for that. Actually,
Yeah,
it helped me.
creatures are fun to do too.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot
So
of it's interesting. There's nothing in stone. It's like anything. It sounded a little weird, and of course the neighbors think you're a complete idiot, but that's okay.
Yeah. It took some time. I think I freaked one of my kids out real quick. Like, what are you doing? Putting your hand over your face and doing like a monster. But it sounded so cool, and it works. So I appreciate you showing us how to do that.
Oh, absolutely, man. My pleasure.
Is there any routines that you do before? I know some people, are like singers, and they, they'll have their tea and they'll, yell to get their throat ready. Is there something that you do before you, make a character?
Not really. I think it's kind of looking at it and just kind of with copy. It's interesting. Like in the audition process, it's very funny. It's like most voiceover people are very gregarious and, hey man, how you doing? And da da da. And you put a script in front of them, and it's like, oh my god, okay, we're filling out a financial form. Don't go outside. No, they said more gravitas, and we all get very serious and just really crazed and focused on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's like I look at that as direct. It's like, yes, you want to give them what they want, but how many times have we all done this where you see or hear whatever it may be, and so 180 degrees away from where they originally had you going, what the direction was.
Yeah.
And so I've always, when I do coaching, I always say, direction is like Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, it's not exactly rules. It's more guidelines,
Wow.
And that really is more, it's like, okay, they have an idea, because the only thing that you have that's different than everybody else is you. So it's an audition. Look at it as a spotlight. The thing is, if you were taking an on-camera class and you went to your thing, do you really want to get up and do the exact same monologue that the 8 people that went before you did? Of course not.
Absolutely.
So make it yours. Have fun with it. I mean, I always tell people, it's like even adding a little zinger at the top and a lead-in thing, as long as it's relevant to the script. An ad-lib coming in is fine as long as it's very short and it is relevant to that first line. An ad-lib is not, gee, I was thinking, gosh, I'm happy, what a nice day. It's not, it's like whatever that line is, if it's relevant to that, that's perfectly acceptable. If you absolutely butchered it, the worst possible outcome, you don't book the job. It's not, the voiceover police aren't going to show up and go, we saw what you were doing with our script. Get against the wall. Give me that. It's like, it's not going to be that bad,
Exactly.
So really it's your opportunity to show off, show them why they should hire you.
Absolutely. And do you think with like, you'll see a lot of voice actors. I did it when I started. I still do it now. I like to talk fast and sometimes talk like I might have some mashed potatoes in my mouth. I just get so excited. I just want to run to the script and just get through it. And then after I'm done, I'm like, man, why did I do that? I thought it was good. I started recording. Then I'll come back after 10 minutes to listen to it again. And then I'll find out, slow down. Do you tell a lot of people to do that too?
That's a great exercise. Not so much the slow down, because it depends on the character. If you're doing commercials, the world is overwritten. It's like, guys, it sounds like I'm on crack and sugar, and this is still coming in at 83 seconds for a 30. So it's not going to. So even time compression won't help this. So there's times that it's quick, but really what you were talking about, this is a great exercise for people, and that is grab a character and do 3 really distinct, do one that's completely nuts and chart it like you're going, well, this is ridiculously stupid. Then do, like if I was really doing this is what my heart tells me, this is what I would do. And then come as close to the direction and let it sit minimally a half an hour to 40 minutes. And what happens is when you come back and listen to it, don't listen to it right after you do it, because you're still in the moment. And as you know, you're selfish. God, I don't like how I slated my name. Do you hear that on the tape? It's like, nobody's hearing that. But if you leave it alone like that, what happens is when you come back, your brain makes adjustments, and it's like anything else. You go, ooh, I like that part. Brain files that away. That's really stupid. Brain files that away. So what happens is the next time you see a piece of copy that's similar to that, you go, ooh, oh, brain goes, I remember this. Let's do it. It's the same premise as learning to drive a car. When you first start, you're white knuckling it. No, God, you're looking at the mirrors and my seatbelt. You don't do that now. You go, yeah, because it's now become second nature. And brain goes, I know exactly what to do.
Love it. I love it. And I don't know if it's just me, but I love
it is. It's definitely you, Curt.
No, but this is awesome. When I watch movie trailers, is it me or is it when nowadays they take the voices out? It's like mostly just boom, visualization. It's no more of the voiceover. Do you miss that?
It's interesting that how that goes. A great example is like Don LaFontaine. Don was a good friend. I mean, we go back to doing all those crappy Steven Seagal movies in the 80s.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Out for Justice, all of that.
Yeah.
Stuff. And the problem that what used to happen then was Don was so prevalent, and I actually talked to a number of trailer producers, because he was the voice du jour, that's what everybody wanted. When you were sitting in a theater, the impact went out the window because he was on. It was like all 6 trailers were Don. Wow. So it didn't have a variety there. And sometimes, less is more. A lot of the time, you're absolutely right. Cut. Rated R opens Fridays everywhere, and that's Right. And then there's other ones where they'll do more. It really just depends on what it is they're looking for, and that's the key. Is that be prepared for whatever comes your way. It's like I don't consider myself to be my thing has always been character stuff, and yet. I had a series on Nat Geo called Alaska State Troopers for, I don't know, 8 years? Mm-hmm. No, I'm not gonna tell them, are you sure you guys want me? Because I don't think I'm that great of a narrator. It's like, oh, well, of course. You realize this show wouldn't exist without my talent. It's like, don't tell them the truth, So, but it's just kind of doing what you do. It's having, fun and enjoying it. And not getting too bogged down. But it's, there's times where the voice works very well and more of it is great. It's gone kind of voiceover is interesting in that it used to be, that Gary Owens in beautiful downtown Burbank, where he just had that thing over his ear and was just, Gary was a dear friend. He would call me and go, Mark, I worked with Mickey Rooney in 1968. His name was Schnickel Flabbertats or something. It's like, well, that's great, Gary. Just thought you'd like to know.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Thanks. Then it went from that to that very flat. I got up this morning and went to work, came home. My wife said, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. And then I got up and went, was that just like, then it's, went to it. Now it's gone to the kind of a Gen X thing where it's like, the new iPhone 11. If you don't have one, you're stupid. I'm not even going to tell you about it because you're an idiot.
Right.
Just
right.
That's very, so, and again, it depends entirely on the audience, really. I mean, I find myself now, obviously, I'm not going to be doing, stuff for, an 18, to 25-year-old voice, although I love it when Coffee goes, we're looking for a voice that's 47 years old.
Yeah, I'm 47.
But what does that sound like?
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
So, and I get, but, obviously, pulling off, various, if you're good at doing a voice, then great. But if it's out of your wheelhouse, don't waste the agent's time. Don't waste a casting director's time or anybody, just pass,
I love that. I love that feedback. There's been some roles I would say that when I first got into it, I auditioned for everything. I got so excited. Oh my gosh, I'm doing this and this. Sure. And then I got burnt out. I'm like, it's a waste of time when you can't get that part and you did it and you're like,
I've had guys that sent me, I just auditioned for this. And it was like, it says right on it, must identify, and you're on there doing a Mickey Rooney from, Breakfast at Tiffany. It's like, no, what are you doing?
Oh, man.
It's just terrible. I mean, it's like, not only is it a bad accent, but it's, it just, it's like, so obviously just pass. It's, it's not like there will be plenty of other auditions that come along.
Oh goodness. Now, speaking of Don LaFontaine and In a World, you got to be in that movie, and I have that on my watch list. I'm going to watch it. I know you're in there. Tell me about how that part came.
Well, they actually shot that at my studio in Burbank too, because Lake was a good friend, and Lake had been in and done VO stuff. I think I was probably the only one that I didn't have to audition or anything. She just said, "Do you want to do it? And can we do it there?" And I went, "Of course," And so they used Studio 4 is where she actually utters the phrase "in a world," and then it's in Studio A, and then there's a part where he's going to a thing, and they used upstairs, and in Studio 5 it made it look like an office. And then the party scene basically was fun. There was, a lot of stuff that they cut and stuff, and it was terrible because Fred is a very sweet guy, Fred Melamed, and of course I was a total jerk to him in the movie. So,
yeah, it's all right.
Fred played Lake's dad, so but that's a Cinderella story. I mean, she put that thing together on a shoestring and wrote it, produced it, directed, got it made, took it to Sundance. It won the awards, and now she's just taken off, and deservedly so. She's a talented girl.
I think that movie looks very exciting, and I'm anxious to see it.
It's very sweet. It's a very sweet story to underline. It's not like a documentary about voiceover at all. It's a very good story underneath. So it's kind of cute.
Very cool. Now, there's some pictures of you on social media with like the cutouts of like celebrities you've worked with in the past. I think that's really cool. Is there a story behind that?
Well, the whole celeb thing, it became a weird, at first, I mean, when I first had my studio was smaller, I was in Hollywood, and it started off and celebs would come in, and then I realized that a lot of the time they'd see a picture and go, "Oh, Elliot's, oh yeah, I know Elliot," and then they'd feel at ease because they saw so-and-so's picture, and so it made it, you know what I mean, like a smoother, kind of a transition. So that basically went on forever. As I've gotten older and older and older, obviously the whole plan was to pull back a little bit and not go into the studio physically as much. I mean, I still direct sessions and stuff, but I'm not actually there on a day-to-day kind of thing by any means. Now I go in very rarely. And so Andy, my lead guy, thought it would be very funny to do the cardboard cutout for when I wasn't there, like, and now that's become a thing where I want a picture with a cutout. It's like, seriously?
That's cool.
It's kind of weird. It's like, seems like a bizarre form of sorry, I don't know. I don't know.
Hey,
I just find it wasn't my idea because that sounds really arrogant. I swear it wasn't.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's hilarious. Now, as I guess I'll ask the question: who was the coolest celebrity you got to work with that came into the studio?
That's like it's the thing that's so weird is that you've got stuff like Jack Nicholson came in.
Oh my goodness!
And it was like a big, like, oh my God, he's this and that, and he's going to be a total ass. That was the sweetest guy in the world. I mean, just like, it was great. A couple of neat, there's just been some special moment. Julie Andrews. We did a whole set of her children's books, and when we hung out together, Betty White is a sweetheart, and just, I mean, where you really get to hang out with them for a while, and they're in there 2-3 days. I mean, on the other end of it, I did like David Lee Roth's, his autobiography, and that was nuts. It was lots of strange smells in the air and chicken tacos with beer. I'm
about to listen to that now.
It just, that's just hard. I mean, there's good and bad. There's been some that you would assume would be very, very pleasant and nice that weren't particularly.
Oh.
There's a couple that have been outright jerks.
Wow.
We had one ADR session with a very prominent female lead. This was a big movie. This was a Ron Howard film. And the poor ADR supervisor was like, "I just need you to do. I'm not jeopardizing the production. The production audio is fine. I'm not going to do." So he'd go, "Well, that's great. Hang on just for a second." Then he'd go out in the hallway and do a Sam Kinison. She won't do it, kind of. But I was lucky. I did all the tour spots for Sam. I mean, that's how far I go back, and we'd hang out together. Patrick Swayze was a good bud, and Patrick would come by and want to smoke pot, and it was like, well, I still have to drive home. Yeah.
Oh my God! So
a different time, obviously. So anyway.
Sam Kinison, he was like one of my all-time favorite stand-up comedians. I remember seeing him on the Rodney Dangerfield special, like when he had a trench coat on when he first came out. I'll never forget the Rodney Dangerfield stand-up on HBO. That was probably one of the best
I did a whole set of spots with Rodney also.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've just been very, just really, really lucky in that respect that it just became the kind of place to, the celebrity got a reputation for that. And it just, it's just been a phenomenal ride. Again, I've been like ridiculously blessed and very lucky. And at this point, I've got, a granddaughter and a grandson, and it's more that I think the coolest thing probably was doing the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, Disney World. I'm the blue pirate up on the bridge because now with grandkids, oh look, that's your grandpa, and that's kind of a cool legacy thing.
Oh, that is cool. I just took my kids there in October before the pandemic, and it was kind of crazy. I lost my family for like 3 seconds and I had both cell phones. That was like a panic mode. It was like, you're not going to find somebody. And we met right by the Pirates of the Caribbean. I said, you got to do this ride. And that ride is still one of the coolest of all time at Disney.
Oh, yeah. And it was just, and that was when we read, they made it a little more politically. Gray Delisle did red. They changed her from a hooker basically to a pirate. If was the auctioneer, and then I'm the blue guy yelling, I'll give you 20 doubloons for the rum. So it's and we knew at the time, I mean, they were very like, this was the last, project that Walt was hands-on with. And so you guys are going to be the voices but you're kind of, we're handing you the torch, and it was like, like, wow, this is, it was one of those sessions where you realized, well, this is kind of a cool thing, so.
Oh yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So who inspired you to be a voice actor?
Honestly, it goes back to Dawes Butler. Dawes, when again, he did this live, it was called Time for Beanie. It was a puppet show at Channel 5, and I would sit there and watch them, in the audience. That again, it was like, hey, Beanie Boy, how you doing, kind of thing. And he's, well, and Dawes was the voice of Hanna-Barbera, I mean, quite Marc Graue, Yogi Berra, it was amazing. And I remember at that point, they didn't have spotlights, didn't have stage lights. They had these huge pieces of plywood with giant floodlights. So these poor guys, him and Stan Freberg, were doing this puppet show, and it must have been, good Lord, 180 degrees back there. Literally, he's doing, hey, Beanie, and the puppet starts to melt. And so Freberg goes, hey, Beanie, and I'm sitting there going, this is so cool. It's puppets and bad language, and of course, my mom's going, you're not going on that set ever again, kind of thing. And it was like, because I grew up on the lot there.
Yeah.
It just,
very cool.
And that was like, wow, that's really cool. And you watch him doing all these different characters, and it was like, that's really neat. And there was also a comedian named Candy Candido that had, of all things, he had what was that? The old Studebaker Avante, the weird kind of, was like a sports car that was like, and he had a tape recorder, and he would do hey kid, you want to go for a ride? Sure. And he had this tape recorder.
Wow.
And you'd sit in the car with him, and he'd pull up to the sidewalk, and he'd hit the thing, and I'd go, why don't you move your And it was,
oh, wow.
And as a kid, it was like, and of course, that was another one. My mom, was like, you're not going in that car, like, so we had a very screwed up childhood, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was just kind of, to us, it was, it's like with my kids. I mean, my kids grew up around the studio and with, E.G. Daily, doing Tommy Pickles or Rugrats or Nancy Cartwright, whatever, it just, so it wasn't that. I remember years later, who's the heartthrob in 90210 that just passed away?
Luke. Yeah, that's it.
And my oldest daughter, had been at the studio, and Luke was there, and he gave her this big kiss on the cheek. And so years later, I found out that she had that picture of him kissing her on the cheek up in her locker and was charging $1 a look.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
I'm a little entrepreneur, So yeah, it was cute. So it's been, it's been very blessed. I just can't say that enough. It's been a phenomenal ride, and what can you say? It's like I hope it continues for at least for another 6 months.
What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't in the voice acting business?
Oh, that's a good question, because I really have no discernible skills whatsoever. So I'd be, I don't know, probably homeless and just talking to people that walked by. You know what? It's funny. That's all I've ever done. That's a great question. I don't know. I thought radio was going to be my, big ticket. And I had a cast of characters. I would do a morning show and do all these voices. And this was long before Mark and Brian and Howard Stern had done it. So, the audience thought it was great. Management, well, not so much. The door would fly open. I can't believe you just said that on the air. Now apologize to the Chevy dealers. It's like, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
So it's,
One question that most voice actors don't know, they're like, next question. I don't know. Because it's like, nobody knows. Like, that's their passion. And I love asking them because when you're in this business, that's your passion. That's all you want to do. So I love it.
Well, I think the key is, realize that, I've had a couple of people, it's very interesting. The internet, they call them keyboard warriors, and people get very brave when you're behind a keyboard and they'll say all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting, thing that people sometimes, it's easy for you to say you've got it made. And it's like, well, where were you when I was sleeping on the couch at the studio all night, because I had to get stuff,
Right.
So, I think if you keep the prize in mind and if you really, really want to do this, great, but be realistic, also, doing a gig on, and I know I'm going to catch crap over this, but doing a gig on Fiverr for $5 or $10 does not make you a voiceover artist. That's not, it's like, work on it, hone your, skills, get better at it. It's not saying there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's if that's what, works for you as far as doing, then do that. But the thing is, you rise to a certain, and that's where you're going to be. And it's like, it's very rough. There's not really any such thing as, I'm a part-time VO guy. It's like, well,
right.
Either you're going to throw your hat in the ring and do this and go full on, or you're not. It's competitive. It's great, but it's you can do very, very well. I've once again been very fortunate, and it's been a great ride.
Absolutely.
But I think you need to be, serious about what you're, do you do, or if you're a phenomenal actor and do dialects, grab video games. If you do, more, silly kind of fun stuff, look at animation. If it's straight laced stuff, narration's great. There are people, it's not, anything that you want to go, oh my God, you've probably heard me on that explainer video, but hey, if it's paying the bills, good for you.
I love that. I love that, because finding your niche is where you get found, I think, because I'm seeing that more and more, like you, we know everything you've done, and like you said, you wouldn't do these certain parts, but I think if you really want to make it big, you focus on one area and go for it. Because I couldn't see myself doing like a book. I would get so impatient and be like, I'm out of here. I'd go crazy.
Well, and I think that's a realistic, and there comes a point too where, you want to get paid for your services. The problem is this is very much an ego-driven business, yes. Very much so. And it's like, so it's, I got the gig, and it's like, they're paying you $50, but I got the gig. They're paying you $50,
right.
And so it's, I get everybody starts somewhere, but realize that if you have a client that's paying you $50, it's not like in 6 months you're going to, we were sitting here and saw Jesus and thought we should give this man $500 now to talk. It's like, that's probably not going to happen,
Right.
So, set a realistic value on your talent. Absolutely. Give it away. Absolutely.
So we're gonna have some fun. It's that time for the audition challenge. I'm gonna give you a script, and the line is, "I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. They have disinfecting wipes at the store." Now you can use a cartoon character, an impression, or an original character if you want to use that voice.
I can't believe it. They have disinfecting wipes at the store, but I used them on the wrong part of my body.
Oh, that is awesome. So that's all right. No, that was awesome. So where could one book you for a job?
Marc, MARC Graue, GRAUE.com, or agent wise, I'm with Atlas, both in New York and out in Hollywood. Atlas Talent, with Heather. But it's, right now too, I love that paying it forward thing. And again, I just, I'm much in that vein of like, help. It's like, no, I don't give it away. Yes, I do charge for coaching, but that's not my main source of income. And it's not one of those like, you know, not a push for that at all. It's just, I just love seeing somebody else be successful. It's great.
That is awesome.
You know?
Absolutely. Do you have any big projects you want to talk about?
I got a couple of big ones coming out on the new PS5 and on the Xbox also, but I can't do that yet because there's stupid NDAs. But yeah, there's there's a couple of things in the wings that are happening, and I mean there's always fires going on like that. You just it's like a great example was I had done a pretty good sized project. This has been a couple of years ago, and the guy had taken a picture of me in the booth. It was like, so it's basically a headshot. It's not even really the booth. It's just like there's the mic and so I said, oh yeah, working on a thing in the post. The agent calls it, take that down. And it was like, what do you mean? What did I do? And it's like, because they're thinking that somebody will know that what studio you're in and they'll know what you're doing. It's like,
my goodness.
What? Like, okay. Like,
oh, wow.
So sometimes it can get, very silly in that respect. But the other thing too is, I mean, I know I post, a lot of stuff and all the crap, but the whole thing with that is that, at least it's so that what drives me is like, I've got this huge project I just booked. I can't talk about it. It's like, well, then don't. wait until it comes out and then go, hey,
Oh, that's
and the
hilarious.
thing is too is with the internet too, don't judge your talent and your life and where you are, whether it be financially or any otherwise, based on what you see on the internet.
Yes.
It's constantly, I love people. God, I just had 18 auditions today. I booked 22 sets. I just can't keep, I'm so busy. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Well, I have a 23-inch appendage. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it's like, sometimes we fall into that mode and it's like, and it's interesting. The internet's become a very interesting place, especially with COVID. I think a lot of people are they a little cooped up and getting a little crazy, and I understand that absolutely. It's, if you really want to do this, get yourself, set up, take time. It's not going anywhere. Realize that if you do a demo yourself and you send that out, well, that's going to be your calling card. That's what you're going to be known as, that demo. So don't think that, an agent's going to, all of a sudden, oh, when I get them, I'm going to do this later, because no, that's what they're going to know you for. So just make sure that first impression is stellar.
Absolutely.
Even a way to approach an agent and stuff. That's just there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And an agent, honestly, they want to know, how much money are you going to make me? That's what they.
I love that. That's awesome.
Well, they're only 10% human. So, it's just, you want to make sure, that you're there. And it's like, if you're throwing your hat in the ring, you're right there with every, if you're doing animation, then you're competing with, me, but you're competing with Jess Harnell, and you're competing with Bob Bergen, and you're competing with Jeff. I mean, you name it,
Right.
It's like, be ready. And don't just assume, I do silly voices. It's like, that's great, but let's see where we can, it's like impressions. I get guys that, well, I do a dead on Homer Simpson, dope. And it's like, well, that wasn't exactly dead on. And secondly, Dan's not going anywhere. So
right.
Kind of a blue point to put it on. It's great to have in your bag of tricks if it's ever needed, but chances are they're not going to be looking for that soon.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people need to hear that. Be yourself. Use your voice and do something somebody else is not doing. So,
well, that's the key. The only thing that makes you unique above everything in the copy, the only thing that makes that copy different is you. There's only
Absolutely.
one. So bring you to it and just bowl them over. Look at every single audition as, man, I'm going to knock this one out of the park, and then let it go.
Absolutely.
Don't sit there and go, oh my God, well, I should have probably done this. Or, I've had people that go, well, I sent out my audition Friday. It's Monday. I haven't even heard anything yet. And it's like, well, chances are you probably won't. That's just the nature of the beast,
Absolutely. And that's one main reason I made this podcast is for people like you to give the great advice. Like you're talking earlier, there's so many voice actors out there, people who want to be voice actors. And it's, what you're saying earlier, there's so many people out there taking pictures on social media in their booth. That's great. You have a great booth and a great microphone, but show us what you got. You know what I mean? Show us what you got.
And again, realize that, and not, but again, if you're competing, if you're competing at a certain level and you want to get, everybody wants like a top LA voiceover agent.
Right.
Well, that's not going to happen with Audacity and a Blue Yeti. Sorry. I'm just saying, and it's not, and I understand that. And I know, you can get a decent sound out of that and it's fine and stuff, but I mean, they are aware it's the same thing as doing your own demo. You can spot that.
Right.
It's no
Right.
different than somebody doing a song and you want to, I want to pitch Warner Brothers Records. Well, if you did it at home in your garage and you mixed it yourself, it might be good if you have that talent for mixing your stuff, but the majority of the time, probably not so much, and it's just, and you just want it to be absolutely stellar. You want to create a sense of, holy shit, you got to come here and listen to this guy. This is amazing. and that's the key. And really, so I'm very open to, you want to email me or something and have a question, great. I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction. If I don't know the answer, I'll lie about it and act like I do. But
that is awesome.
I just, hey, it is a small community and it's, once again, there's an awful lot of claims out there of people doing this. And that's how that whole thing started with the, the celebrity stuff and all that, because I mean, it's like, it isn't BS. It's all right there, so it's like, okay. So it kind of legitimizes the place initially. That's kind of what the whole purpose. And that was it, and it's just, at this point, it's just, do what you do and just, and do it just like you said, a notch better than the next person.
Absolutely. And Mark, it means a lot that you're on the show, and I appreciate everything that you've done for us voice actors online and everything you've showed us. And I just want to say thank you for being on the show today. You are the legend.
My pleasure, man. I thank you so much for having me. It was you're a gem. You're a man. Thank you for doing this. It's truly wonderful. There's nothing in my life that could ever match this ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, Marc Graue.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening in on Behind the Audition Podcast, made possible by Hilton Productions. If you need a male or female voiceover, contact us at hiltonproductions.com. Hilton Productions, let our voices do the selling.